Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Britt Kanawha West Hancock Athletics Podcast. This is June 11th, 2024. Dan Kroll with episode 110. And this evening, I have two people from the Francis family, Paul and Mathew. Paul's in the middle of the screen. Matthew's on the left, if you can't tell the difference. No real age gap there. Paul is the industrial tech teacher at West Hancock. Former head wrestling coach. He's entering his 22nd year as an assistant football coach. Drives bus, does it all. People I talk to say he does a lot of stuff, wears a lot of hats at the school and in the community. And then Mathew is a 2022 graduate. He was a senior captain, all-stater on the 2021 state championship football team, wrestled at state track, baseball player, just an all-around good athlete. Back in Britt, helping out with the wrestling program. So welcome, Francis, guys. How we doing tonight?
Great. I'm good.
Good to see you. Thanks again for doing this. It'll be a lot of fun to talk about kind of the late 80s, early 90s with Paul, leading up to him coming back to Britt in the early 2000s and his coaching, and then Matthew's career as well and what he's up to. So before we get to these guys, I got to recognize my sponsors. I have 23 of them tonight, so a lot of good money coming in, flowing into the Sanger Legacy Fund. So I always tell people to make sure you help these sponsors out by patronizing their businesses or thanking them when you see them. I have Nick Schmidt, Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company, Vexen Fishing and Tackle Industries, owned by Derek and Liz Ing, White Barn Picket Fence, Carlson Drainage, Levi Don Trucking, Britt Seed Company, Trolson Auto Parts, Window World of Mason City, the Britt Car Truck Bike and Tractor Night Cruise and Mojo Productions, Katie's Salon and Tanning in Titonka, Doug and Kathy Zool, Daniel's Auto Collision, Triple B's Food Trucks, Swenson's Hardware, Jeff and Becky Nielsen, Kelly Real Estate, Pritchard's Auto, Carty Care Transportation LLC in Kanawha, Kanawha Community Home, Deemer Realty, Stevens Realty, and Lehman Family Dental Care in Clear Lake. I just started a new thing I put out there on Facebook that I'm hoping to do at least 50 more episodes of this podcast, and I'll kind of check in where I'm at and see the future longevity of the podcast. But I did throw out a lifetime membership sponsor opportunity, and I've already actually had 4 businesses or people decide to do that. It's $400, and you're just automatically a sponsor forever as long as I do this podcast. And those people, I have Levi Don Trucking, so thank you to Levi Don and his company for being a lifetime sponsor. Window World in Mason City, so thank you to Katie Showalter, wife of Joey Showalter, passed away, former West Hancock grad. Pritchard's Auto, they're a brand new sponsor. They're now a lifetime sponsor, so thank you to the Pritchard crew. And then Doug and Kathy Zool, they've actually kind of been a lifetime member before I even started this. They're just recurring, automating their giving every single month, and I do about 2 episodes a month. So I consider that a lifetime membership. So if you want to do that, please get a hold of me. Otherwise, it's $10 an episode to sponsor. And I do have a little thing going on too. If you sponsor 10 episodes, I'll give you the 11th one for free. So again, all these sponsors, all of the things we're talking about here, all that money goes to the Sanger Legacy Fund. Coming up in just a couple months now is the 2024 Hall of Fame inductions that we help. We run that and pay for that. Any athletic or activities at West Hancock or community outreach needs, we help sponsor and fund whatever it is that people need. And we give out scholarships every year to graduating seniors. So if you want to give to the Sanger Legacy Fund, you can go to sangerstrong.com or get a hold of me and we'll talk. All right, I got a couple episodes I want to highlight. 50 episodes ago, on episode 60, was a playoff episode from the 2022 runner-up football season. And then 100 episodes ago, kind of excited that I can highlight 100 episodes ago. This thing's been going on long enough, is John DeLeon, and we're going to talk about Al here in a little bit. His dad, the former wrestling coach. So that'll be a lot of fun. All right, let's get started with some introductions. A lot of people watching us will obviously know who you guys are. You're local, but just fill people in on who you are, of course, and what's keeping you busy these days, family, jobs, coaching, all those things. Mathew, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm Mathew Francis, and I graduated in 2022, and went to the military for a while, and I got out early, And now I'm back and doing construction and just recently got engaged and
Who?
to Math and Nathan, and then so I mean, spending a lot of time kind of planning wedding stuff right now, doing construction. Got a new dog, hanging out with that. So nothing crazy. A little more relaxed right now. So
Good. Do you guys have a date planned out yet for the wedding?
May 24th, 2025. Yep.
Okay. It's about a year. Yeah, good.
Yep. Little less than a year. Yep.
Nice. And Mr. Francis.
I'm Mr. Francis, Paul Francis. Been at the high school now here in Britt for 22 years already teaching. Dan Kroll was one of my exit. We were junior my first year, I think.
Yep.
You guys helped build those display cases in the front where the library windows used to be and stuff. So I remember that in your class and started off coaching some wrestling with Coach Benning and Matt Goss from who knows the old stage. I'm sure you guys know who that is, but then my second year I started coaching with Bob Sanger kind of asked me to start coaching and was wrestling, for 5 years with Billy Dahlman as co-head coach. And then the junior high, I've done that for 15 of the last, I think 13 of the last 16 years, something like that. Now with Nick Biergard, but raised 4 kids, got Rachel, Colton, Matthew, Morgan. And like you said, I drive some bus too. Oh, we have an Amber Alert going on. And I do construction all summer. Got to do that because Matthew got engaged. Better keep on doing construction, I guess.
And you don't, I mean,
He worked for me for about probably 6-7 years. So now he's with Dan Kruger this summer, so that works out well.
nice. And I do have to clarify something, Coach. You said I helped build those trophy cases. I assisted in the building of those trophy cases. You learned pretty quick as my shop teacher that if I built things, they would not last very long, and it would cost about triple the amount for the supplies. I still have no skills when it comes. I just naturally do not have that. I've learned a few things, but I just remember you were like, "Hey, you want to earn an A in my class? How about you help the cleanup process in the shop?" So I just made sure everyone got the shop clean at the end of every class, and I got my A.
Somebody's got to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, no, I still have no handyman skills, and it's none of your fault. People have tried with me, and I've tried to. It's not my thing. I'm more about, I guess, high school statistics and facts and writing and stuff, I guess. So I found my niche, and it was not construction and handyman.
Yeah.
So everyone has their part, right? So yeah, so we're gonna get going to some of Coach Francis's early day stuff. Growing up in the community and graduating from West Hancock in 1993. Matthew, like I said, feel free to chime in, make fun of him. If he's exaggerating too much, call him out, all the things. So
probably won't do that.
We got a good statistic for you guys coming up here in a little bit when we get to Matthew's accolades. So yeah, graduated in 93. So that means your freshman year was the fall of 89. And I've talked to a lot of guys on this podcast who were in school in 1989 in high school, and that your West Hancock history. That's when Britt and Kanawha joined to become West Hancock. Asked everybody this. It's just kind of a fun thing to talk about. What do you remember from the merger, from the consolidation and the sharing with Britt and Kanawha?
Well, I think overall, especially being a teacher now, so it's gone pretty smooth compared to some other schools around. That have come together. We've always got along pretty well, and I think a lot of people made friends right away. But like in 89, luckily, my class, we were in high school in the building 7th and 8th grade too. So we're kind of used to it before we had to be just a freshman. I was a freshman first year, so at least we got used to it. What else do I remember? I guess it's the first day is the day I met my wife, and now we've been married 30 years. So she came from Kanawha. She was originally from Boone Valley. When they closed, they went to Kanawha, and so that worked out well. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, I guess. So the transition was good, What?
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so she was come from Kanawha. I think they had 14 kids came from there, and we had 50. So worked out well. I mean, I was active in the activities. I think that helps a little bit when you're a freshman, and at least the big guys don't beat you up when you're on the same team with them. So
yeah,
so he's good.
Yeah. So in high school, you wrestled and played football. We're gonna start with a little wrestling here. We just mentioned John DeLeon, said his dad was Al DeLeon, the legendary Britt wrestling coach, West Hancock wrestling coach. Talk about being a part of his program, wrestling for Al, and what he meant to you as a person, coach, mentor.
Oh, great guy. In fact, we were close up to the end. I went over and helped some time. We always, talk to them about the DeLeon tournament and whatever else, and shingle their house, which that's a lot of people. But like John DeLeon, those guys. My class wasn't loaded with talent, probably except for Kerry Meyer, who's a Kanawha guy. I think he came in and was on JV for a year and a half. Then he was a 2-time state finalist, so he was good. I think we started our class with about 10 or 12 guys in wrestling and ended up with like about 4 guys that did all 4 years. But I certainly was not the stud. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, not at all. Darren Eckels, guys like that were pretty dang good too. But the rest of us kind of were on the team because the class above us and below us were outstanding. The Trolsons and the Sangers and the Hutzpis and the Mad Dog and those guys below us with the other Smiths and all them and DeLeon. So, and they're loaded. So our class was kind of stuck in the middle with all sports, kind of pretty good guys, but not the all state guys necessarily as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you stuck out for 4 years of wrestling, and I believe you wrestled 1 varsity match. What was it that made you stick around? Because
I don't know, probably because
nowadays
Coach
a lot
DeLeon.
of kids would be like, "Nah, this isn't worth my time." What made you stick around?
I don't know. A few of us did, and just being part of it, I think, is because of Coach DeLeon. We like being around him. We like all the mentality that he gave us and being around the guys. Back then we had 45 to 48 guys. So that means 30 of some of us weren't on varsity. There was only 13 weight classes back then. So a lot of guys just stuck it around because being a part of the team. And, we used to have full varsity and JV meets. So you still had like a team to be on JV. Now it's a little bit different than that with you just match people up. But probably Coach DeLeon, he imparted it. It was just, it's psychological in a good way. Like before practice almost every day, you'd have a story, whatever. I still got the one where you like, what's he say? Never take a shortcut. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Always keep one eye open. But he'd make that story last about 15 minutes and ask anybody else in the resting room. Even after he retired, he'd come in when we were co-head coaches with Billy. He'd come tell stories, or the relaxation drills, or the story about the guy not following the rope when he's supposed to follow the rope because the rope and keep going forward all the time in the snowstorm. I still remember that story all the time in life. Like, keep going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just give up. Because the guy, if he'd have fallen forward, he would have hit the building and found his barn, I think it was, or a house. I remember the details I'm saying. So it was just psychological. We just like being a part of it. And, like I said, I'm not the stud, but the guys around us were, and we were pretty dang good as a group.
Yeah. As a team, in the North Iowa Conference tournament, you guys took 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 4th. And, Britt, for a long time, was used to winning conference championships regularly. But Osage was kind of on a roll at that point. They had won their 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th consecutive team titles in the conference while you were in high school. I believe they got up to 19 or 20 before Lake Mills snapped that streak. What do you remember about wrestling and seeing Osage in this era? I mean, still a powerhouse to this day, but they were kind of right in the middle of it at that point.
They're right in the middle, and they won state again this year. But I don't know, red hair. Can I say that? But they were good. They've been good forever since the 1930s. They've been good. I think between 1950 and 1990, we probably had the most state champs in the state, but they've kept rolling over and over. They got a bunch of them too. But man, are they good? They're hard to get. What has there been to us and Forest City, Lake Mills, and them? And the only 4 that ever won the conference. Is that true? You'd know that, but
something like that. Yeah, I mean, there's several schools that have never won one, and now that we have the top of Iowa, winning a conference title is very difficult individually or as a team. Kellen Smith, for example, 3-time state runner-up, never won a conference title, and he's one of the best ever to come through the school. It's just.
I was about ready to say that. Yeah, definitely.
Got 18 teams in a conference, and you put them all in one tournament. It's crazy. So. Yeah, and then sectional meets in your high school career, you guys went second, champions, and 3rd. By the way, 7 conference championships you were in a wrestling room with, just in your 4 years, and then 12 sectional champions and 22 district qualifiers. at district meets, I don't know your freshman year. I haven't been able to find the team standings yet. So if someone out there knows that from 1990, fill me in. But then 6th, 2nd, and 4th, 9 wrestlers won district titles. 12 guys qualified for state. Just to give people some context of who Coach had in the wrestling room that qualified for state, he had Spencer Gear, Steve Kelly, who took 3rd. Spencer Gear made it back and got 6th. Rick Sanger was state runner-up. Chad Trilson was 4th. John DeLeon, Kerry Meyer, and Rick Sanger again were all runner-ups in 92. And then Justin DeLeon and Paul Jen qualified for state in 93, didn't place. Nate Smith placed 6th in 93, and Kerry Meyer was again a runner-up. You already mentioned Kerry. Who are your wrestling partners in the room? Who'd you get a practice with?
Well, once in a while with Kerry, but he kicked the snot out of me, so he was usually with Ricky. Well, I'll tell you what, Travis Raffnell was my daily partner, and he stuck out all 4 years too. Another guy like me, basically. We were both stuck behind the Trolson, DeLeon, Sanger, Beefy Meyer. I remember Travis Raffnell most of the time. Sometimes it's, we have a shark bait or whatever you want to call it, or killer drills. You get stuck with all them big guys too. Then they were dang good. State finalists every, a lot of times. And so that was fun.
Yeah.
Not sure why you keep going back after that, but
I
remember I got an award.
Oh,
got an award for never missing a practice. That was cool. I didn't even notice that until DeLeon told me that. So I don't know.
That's cool. I've said it many times on the podcast and just talking to people, like, wrestlers are nuts, whether they're good or maybe not state quality wrestlers. If you're really good at it, it's your life. You are just devoted to that sport. And if you were like me, if I would have gone out for wrestling, I would have been terrible. But to just go back every single day, it's a hard sport. It's not like basketball or volleyball or baseball where you can go to practice and show up and kind of hide and blend in. You're literally grinding on that mat every night. And for people to stick it out consistently for 4 years, it's admirable. I just have a lot of respect for people who wrestle, because I tried it once in 3rd grade, and one match in, I was like, nope, see you later. So yeah. My dad wasn't real happy with that one, but yeah, you wrestled with 5 state runner-ups. Like I said, Rick Sanger twice, Kerry Meyer twice, John DeLeon. Paul Jen was a qualifier when you're in school, but the next year he ended up being a runner-up as well.
Yeah.
And we all know the Paul Jen story, beating Cale Sanderson in college in an exhibition. Pretty cool. So did you ever think you'd be, we got Kent Townley won a state title at Britt. Jim Craig won a state title at Britt. Al DeLeon was there and won titles. Mark Sanger is currently the head coach. You're in that list with those guys, and Billy Dahlman, Brian Benning. That's a very small list of Britt West Hancock head coaches. There's only a dozen or so in school history. What was that like for you to be the head coach at West Hancock?
Well, I kind of got asked. I know Brian Benning was here. Again, I'm not the talent, but it was, as a coach, I think we did okay. We started off pretty slim. We only had about 13, 14 guys, I think, that first year. And I think we won 3 dual meets, which was tough, because the year before, I think we won like 2, if I remember right. It's something like that. But we kind of built it back up to be, end up going, I think, to the regional duels. Did we? Was that when I was assistant, or, I can't, you probably know that information, but we ended up being like 18-5 that one year. So we kind of built it up, and those guys give credit to all the wrestlers that were a big part of it. We didn't have a ton of like super duper state champion stuff. We had a whole bunch of really good guys that cared. So kind of their way back up by 2008, I think it was, or 9.
And
even that year we were like 2-7 in football that one year, but we ended up having a dang good wrestling team. So credit to those guys.
That would have been 2008, 2009. Yep.
Yeah.
In football. Matthew, what do you remember hearing stories about your dad being the wrestling coach? You talk about it much?
They probably don't have it.
Honestly, I haven't really heard much. I mean, I know that I didn't know for the longest time until I think I was in like 8th grade that him and Billy were head coaches, right? Yeah, I didn't know that, because obviously he always took me to tournaments, and he was my middle school coach when I was 12. And I don't know, I don't remember how I found out, but then I kind of asked him a little bit about it, but never really talked about it too much.
How was he as a middle school coach? Was he harder on you than anybody else?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, it was good. It's hard to say, I guess. I mean, there was a few of us that were, because middle school is where you get kids where they kind of join. That's kind of some people's first couple years wrestling, and so you get the guys that are just starting and just um, getting the ball rolling, so they got to know the basics. And then there's a couple of us that knew kind of what we were doing, like me and Kane and a couple other guys that have been doing it for a couple years. We kind of just stuck together and kind of did more like just say like advanced stuff because we already knew what we were doing. Whereas he kind of had to go with the guys who were just starting out and just kind of teaching them the basics. Because I mean, um, middle school we were just kind of the end goal was to try to make it to AAU states. We were kind of just training all season to try to make it for that pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Middle school coaching, high school varsity coaching, the stress and the pressure of winning is there. But I'll always say middle school coaching might be the hardest coaching jobs that there are because you're starting from scratch with a lot of kids in a lot of instances. I did seventh grade football at Norwalk. We'd have 75 kids out for seventh grade football at Norwalk, and 30 or 40 of them most years. Like you had like this is a football, and they're like no knowledge at all. You're babysitting some of them. Their dads made them go out, and they want nothing to do with it. It's a hard thing at the middle school level. I've done middle school girls basketball. Same thing. Like you have to show them what a basketball looks like. So
Oh, jeez.
a lot of respect for middle school coaches, that's for sure. So been there, done
Well,
that.
like you just said earlier, though, like if you're out for wrestling, you kind of know what you got coming. So they're pretty. That group was well, they always have been pretty dedicated. I mean, you can't run. You're doing exactly the same thing. You can't just go sit on the bench. You're all like,
Yeah.
when we do sprints, everybody does sprints. When you wrestle, everybody wrestles. So you can't hide. So wrestling's probably a little better that way.
Yep. Oh, yeah. It's a grind. Let's talk about football. 1989 to 1992, you played football for Coach Bob Sanger, for Gene Perkins. Who are the other assistant coaches with Coach Perkins when you were in school?
Oh, we had Coach Rang and Coach Evans. I think Evans, he was a shop teacher before me. And Mr. Rang, he was like a sixth grade teacher, I believe. And I think back then we just had 4 coaches. So had them for JV, and then Perkins, Mr. Sanger for varsity. So they took it all care of probably 60 some guys with 4 coaches. So
1989, like I said, was the first year Britt and Kanawha joined. We went 6-2, missed the playoffs. We were up in Class 2A at that point with the merger. 1990, 90 and 91 were kind of considered the defensive teams. I mean, our defenses were stout and gave up 50 some points, was all in 9 games. Just elite defenses. We went 7-2, lost 13-12 to North Iowa in the first round. 1991, we also lost in the first round. Well documented in season and game. Talked to a lot of guys from your era. Beat Garner, I think 29-6 in the regular season, then lost to them by 7 in the playoffs. They just steamrolled their way to the state title that year. Literally, the 2 best teams in the state were 10 minutes apart, unfortunately. And then your senior season in 1992, 8-3, lost to North Fayette twice. In the regular season, we lost to them 7-0, and then in the quarterfinals, 17-0. They were another one of those teams, just dominant. I mean, we gave them their only real close games. I put in our notes here the scores of their other games, and I'm just going to read them off here real quick. They won 56-6, 40-0, 28-0, 55-0, 48-6, 55-14, 54-0, 50-6, 28-0. Now we're in the playoffs with that 28-0 win over Wapsie. And then our game 17-0, 33-14 over West Lyon. And then in the title game, they beat Solon 27-7. So we were the only team to keep it somewhat close. They were just that type of team. You run into that type of team before you should sometimes. So kind of that woulda, coulda, shoulda season. where you didn't run into them in that early round. We could probably be a dome team that year. What do you remember about your senior year and any other memories of football at West Hancock?
Oh, it's fun. Like you said, two of the best teams playing each other. I think what was it, 5 out of 6 years we lost to the state champions and gave them their best game. Is that true? You'd know that probably too, but pretty close. The next year, the 95, 96, 97, I think. But um, uh, obviously, Emmitsburg was a close game too. That loss, a bunch of great wins. Always nice beating Garner, of course, but that Emmitsburg was 12-7, and I think we got within the 5-yard line and didn't score on that, and would have won the district that way. First year of districts, correct?
Yep.
So, and then the playoffs. Well, it's fun going down to Iowa Falls, which is a pretty big school now, and it was really, really cold. I remember that. Luckily, I played that whole game and rotated. Actually, of all things, it's kind of funny. Andy Hunt and I were rotated, brought plays in at tackle. So we're probably the only tackles that ever bring plays in, maybe, I think. But
I did.
beating the crap out of Iowa Falls 28-0. I don't think they had 100 yards either. But then coming home and losing our home, I'm not sure how we got it at home. Then we lost 17-0, but always fun being with guys. Again, we had that class. I think we only had about 10, 11 guys that finished up in our grade in a 2A school. So loaded with guys behind us that helped, and the great class ahead of us, obviously, both teams are on the verge of state championships too. So,
yeah. No, if you remember your first year coaching, my junior year, Andrew Schmidt, Kyle Friesman, and myself ran in plays at right tackle.
Okay, you're right. Yeah. Okay. You're right.
Then it ended up being Andrew and I for a little bit, and then Andrew got a spot at guard when Zach Nielsen got injured, and then I took over at right tackle, and Kyle rotated in a little bit with us. But yeah, we were running in plays at tackle. I just remember Forest City my junior year. We beat them 39-7, but we ran 245 dive, like 15 plays in a row or something like that. And about halfway through that drive, Coach Sanger didn't even tell us the play. He just looked at us and we're like, "Yep, 245 dive." He wasn't even saying it out loud. We just knew.
I've told my boys that before too. He's like, "You said 245 dive till I tell you something else." That's all he did. So
yeah. I can't remember it. I have to look back at the tape, but I just vaguely remember, 15 some plays running it. They had about 9 guys on the other side, on that side of the, just loading up on that side, our left side, their right side. And I think coach called a counter or something like that on that play, the play that scored. He was like, "Yeah, this will be a fun one." So, yeah.
Well, if I remember right, talk about you for a second. Aren't you the year we were 9-0 and we had to go against the 9-0 Eldora first round?
Yeah.
District champs.
Yeah, that we beat them the year before 27-14, but they returned everybody. And my junior year, we were 9-0, but I think we outscored, if you take away a couple blowouts like North Iowa and one or two other games, we had 6 games that season that we won by a combined like 20 points. I mean, we were 1-point wins every week and 6-point overtime win. We were just barely squeaking by people, and it was. We were 9-0, but we definitely weren't on the same level as Eldora that year. They again steamrolled everybody, including us. I think we had 50 yards of total offense that game. So,
yeah. Then we break a tuba over in Garner. Somebody tried to catch that extra point with a tuba, if I remember right.
That was my senior year. Nick Hartman kicked an extra point, and they were getting ready for the halftime show, and the tuba player ran towards the ball to catch it in his tuba, and it shattered it. So the rest of that season, everyone chanted tuba whenever Nick was getting ready to kick, which Nick's a good friend, so I can say this on air, but he was not the most accurate kicker we've ever had. So it was always an adventure when he lined up to kick. We were just better off going for 2. So, yeah. I want to list a couple dudes here you played with. In your 4 years, you had a lot of all-staters on those teams. Ricky Whipple, Scott Van Dusseldorp, Travis Hagen, Mike Buzicki, Jeff Coogee, Van Dusseldorp again, Coogee again, Buzicki again, Hagen again, couple multi-time all-staters. Chad Trolson, Kevin Eisman, your future father-in-law, Matthew, Rick Sanger, Chris Cooley, Corey Matern, Brent Shelberg, Kerry Meyer, Stacy Gopel, who's on staff, Nate Smith, Chad Gertis, and Eric Cooley. So to me, that says right there, practice was probably harder than some of the games.
Probably 90% of the games. Like you said, you named all the studs in our class and a few more that were pretty good too. But All them guys, still good friends with a lot of those guys and stuff, and hang out with some of them. So obviously they kick the tar out of us. Some of those guys your first name, those guys are. That's why I respected your elders back then. You didn't mess with them because they were way bigger than us, But who was he saying? Noche and Gopal in our class. Was there somebody else in my class that was all state?
Uh,
Chelberg.
Corey Matern, Shellberg,
He's
Kerry,
yeah,
Stacy.
Chelberg and Jarod Haxton. Those guys are all pretty good. Eric Eisman might be in there too, and I don't know. Like I said, the grade below us was just pulling down and had the state. You got as we're juniors, that senior class won the state championship in track and runner up in wrestling and did conference champs in baseball. So they had everything. And then the grade below us is dang near close to that too.
Yep.
And our class is pretty good at stuff, but just not quite the caliber. But
yeah, you guys
overall.
went 29-8 in your 4 years of varsity football. And now we're going to jump over to Matthew's career a little bit and compare and talk. And you coached him, obviously, so chime in however and whenever you want. Matthew, you played from 2018 to 2021. Went 44-5. 5 losses in 4 years, pretty impressive. You had a major role on all 4 of those teams. Not very often does a freshman play 4 years of varsity football. Even today, when we're smaller and numbers are a little less. Paul, you probably had 60, 70 guys out for football. Now it's we're mid 40s usually,
45.
and that's pretty good for Class A. But you're 2A back then, so regardless, to be a 4-year starter is pretty impressive. Matthew, you were the defensive district MVP as a sophomore in 2019, team that won the state title. You were first team all district in 2020, and then you were the offensive district MVP in 2021. You were one of 30 players to ever be a 3-time all district selection. And then you were 2-time all state your last 2 years. Only 27 guys have been 2-time all staters. 2 guys have done it 3 times. Most importantly, though, team-wise, you guys won 2 state titles, 2019, 2021, semifinals your freshman year in 2018, and your junior year, 2020, you guys ended the season in the quarterfinals. So 3 of your 4 seasons ended in the Dome, which is always the goal, to get to the Dome and win in the Dome. And that quarterfinal season in 2020 that lost to Grundy at home, I've said it, I don't know, 6 times on this podcast. We were a Dome team that year. Maybe didn't start the season that year as a Dome team, losing to Garner, was it 14-6? But by the end of that season, we were a Dome team. Iowa City Regina comes down. Shouldn't have been in Class A. That would have kept us and Grundy separated. We probably were a state finals team that year as well. With Cole Kelly running the show and a bunch of other studs out there too. So I want to talk defensively a little bit for you here, Matthew. In your 4 years, tackles as a freshman, 57 tackles. You literally had more tackles as a freshman than I did my entire career. 95 as a sophomore, 88 as a junior, and 119 tackles as a senior. Paul gave me permission to give this statistic. You two combined for 362 tackles as West Hancock Eagles. Pretty impressive by the 2 of you. But if you're sitting at home,
thank you. Yeah.
Yep. Just like I told him, I was a head football coach for 2 years, and I tell people Bob Sanger and I want to combine 360 games and 3 state titles. I just don't have to tell people the who got how many of each one. So yeah,
Did you say the percentage?
99.17% went to
I think
Matt.
him.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's him.
Just like 99% of the wins went to Coach Sanger and not to me.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So 359 tackles. That is good for second in school history. What was it defensively, Matthew, that you enjoyed, made you good? Coaches, talk about playing defense.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I've always defense has been my favorite part of football, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, luckily I kind of just naturally had a good flow for the ball. As both the singers would always say, just flow the ball, and I don't know, it just naturally came to me, and it also made it fun that our whole defense was good, and that You could always trust, no matter, I mean, all the way through, no matter who I was with for linebackers, I could always trust anyone we had. And my freshman year, um, it kind of did, it helped a lot as far as getting tackles. It did suck that people were getting hurt, but that did allow me to get in there and get more reps. I mean, I know Tate kind of hurt his hip in the playoff games. And he tried playing as much as he could because obviously he didn't want to stay out. And but there was times he had to come out and I had to go in, which was a little scary at times, but it did help me kind of get some reps and get some experience there. But like I said, defense was just fun. I mean, we were always good my 4 years, so it did help. And Coach Sanger's obviously the defensive coach, and he was big on all 11 guys pursuing to the ball, and we definitely did that. And I don't know, it was a good time.
And we'll get to your senior year a little bit here, but that defense, your senior year, 2021, that state championship team, I could go back and rewatch just defensive clips all the time because you guys were that team that you just didn't make mistakes. Just fundamentally sound. Of course, you have the horses out there to do it, but just almost perfect football in some regards. I mean, was it 60 points you guys gave up in 13 games? And I think the starters gave up 3 touchdowns the whole season or something like that. And one of them, in the playoffs, it was just fun to watch. You, Ryland Barnes, Mitchell Smith, that 2021 season combined for 311 tackles. I have if you've ever looked at my record book I made for the program, some odd statistical categories, and one is best tackling trios. That's good for 6th in the record book for most tackles by a trio of guys in a season. You also had 3 fumble recoveries. You had an interception. As a team, you guys shut out opponents for 14 consecutive quarters. And from 2020 to 2022, you guys allowed single digits or no points in 75 consecutive quarters. That's like almost 2 full seasons of football when you string it all together. In your senior year, you guys only allowed 84.71 rushing yards per game, and that was over 13 games, which included a state title game, a semifinal game, and that also included the entire game. It wasn't like that can be recorded as in like, okay, the starters are out, we're not going to keep track of the statistics anymore. That's over the game, and you guys are winning big in a lot of games, and you're relying on the JV to, continue that pitching that shutout or whatever. So that in a lot of instances meant you guys were giving up nothing until you guys got pulled, and maybe the JV was giving up most of those yards. It was just the most fun I've ever had watching the defense, honestly. So you talked about Coach Sanger. What else made you guys so good defensively?
I mean, like you said, it does help having a bunch of tough guys out there, really. Everyone's willing to tackle and wants to tackle. I think that's another thing is if you can keep it competitive and kind of who's going to get the tackle, And I mean, just like I said, Coach Singer was big on all 11 guys go after the ball. It's like, and if you watch, we would watch film once. So I mean, every Thursday or every Monday, and just kind of go over what we did. And he would point out a lot of times that we just have guys just flowing the ball. Everyone's flying. It doesn't matter if they think the guy's tackle or not. People are just flying.
Yeah.
But like I said, trusting the guy next to you. I mean, you can only worry about your job. But if one guy's job is just to clog a hole and just get smoked, and the other guy has an easy tackle, I mean, we were willing to take that for each other. And I mean, it's just a good feeling when we had plenty of times where we kind of screwed stuff up and gave up big plays or fumbling, that kind of stuff, and kind of just turned around and had confidence in our defense and put trust in our defense. And I mean, like you said, we just kind of didn't allow anything, and
Yeah.
We originally didn't start the season out with, I mean, there's always a goal to not have people score, obviously, but once we were like 3 or 4 games in and people hadn't scored more than 7 points, and we made it a goal the rest of the season to try not to have that happen. Obviously, it didn't happen in the finals. We got dang close.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to keep that Kanawha kid from Grundy in check like you guys did was impressive, regardless of what the final score ended up being. Talk about that state title game here as we're going through the notes here. 19-14 win over Grundy. It was the 3rd straight year we played Grundy, either in the finals or the playoffs. Everyone knows how that game ended, and one side's going to talk about how it ended, the other side's going to be like, we won. Just your senior season, you were the horse on that team. You were the leader on that team with a couple other guys. What did it mean to you to win a state title your senior year? And Paul, what did it mean to be on that staff and to win that title with your son as that senior leader, like I just said?
Well, it's pretty awesome. Obviously, it was quite a run. We've been good almost the whole time I've been coaching for the most part. But I tell you what, the group of kids and him, and they worked their tail off. I think losing the semifinals in 18, I think really motivated some people to get going and getting the lifting and running going. These guys did a lot of that too, with up in the morning all summer, 3 times a week, running together as a group. One thing I think that helps the last 6 years in particular, and most years, but they all get along. They were friends. There wasn't any cliques. There wasn't any bad mouth, and they're all working together. They all had a goal, and we won 3 titles in 6 years. So that's in 5 years. I mean, and we have good leaders. Some of the captains over the years, where if somebody comes to practice, they have to punish them at all, or whatever. Some of the guys that run with them, like if they dish out something, they'd go run the punishment with them. And he did that a number of times, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. Close the game was that was question, whatever. The refs raised the ball, so we'll take that. But pretty dang awesome, especially knowing how hard they work at it. It's not like there's just. I think it's probably, I don't know, kind of weird. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Is this the first championship class that didn't have any seniors go play football anywhere? Because really, that means they're all a bunch of pretty dang good kids that went and worked hard and won a state title.
Awesome. I couldn't tell you that, but I mean, a handful easily could have played college football.
Yeah,
for sure, and been really good players at that next level. But yeah, I don't know. Matthew, what did you think winning that state title your senior year?
I mean, it was crazy. Obviously, found a way to keep it close. Like we did in 19 too, but I think those are even make it even more fun. I mean, obviously they're scary, but once you get the feeling that after the game's over and you've won, I mean, it's awesome. Like you said, we were all friends, and when you get to celebrate with your teammates, and it's a great feeling. I mean, you put in how much work during the summer and during the year, and like you said, morning practices. I mean, majority of those guys didn't. No one likes getting up at 5:30, 6 o'clock to come in and run, do lifting or something. Us captains usually had to remind them after we got done in the morning. Most schools aren't doing this, so this will set us apart. I mean, it did help. I mean, we have the guys who are in shape and to get after it. I mean, that's kind of what makes a difference, especially down at the dome where it's hot and it's everything like that. It was just a great feeling, full team effort. I mean, when some of us were screwing stuff up, others were making big plays. Like, I mean, and that helps a lot. I mean, once they start stopping something and someone else can pick up the slack, makes a big difference.
Yep. And we were talking defense earlier. A staple of West Hancock football is the physicality. Woodbury Central, they gave us a bigger scare than they've ever given us before, but talking to some people from out that way, and they're like, they never wanted to see us matched up with Woodbury Central. They didn't, because they didn't want to get hit in the mouth 100 times a game. When I played, that was what kids from Buffalo Center, I'd see them out at, wherever in Buffalo Center when I lived over there, and they'd be like, we just hated playing you guys. You were just physical. That to me is a key as well. And watching you guys play, not only did you do your jobs, but you knocked people in the mouth time and time again. And kids, we'd always match up with the Northwest teams in the state in the playoffs, and they were more physically imposing by looks, but then about halfway through the game, they're always like, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. Just keep getting knocked around. That's been 40 years plus of Eagle football. I'm pretty excited. I put out there my podcast lineup for the rest of 2024, and we're going to do a fun episode with the 1984 Britt football team. That was 40 seasons ago now, and that's kind of when we call this dynasty that we've had. Kind of started with a couple quarterfinals trips to the finals, and then we've missed playoffs 6 times in 40 years or something like that. We're going to highlight 40 years of quality Eagle football, and a lot of that has to do with just the physical type of play that we impose on our opponents. So Mathew, could you go out there and play right now if given the opportunity?
What's that? Football?
Yeah, could you go out there and play right now?
In high school or college?
Either one. Could you go back, rewind a couple years, and could you do it right now? Are you still in good enough shape? Do you have the drive to do it?
I could do high school right now. Yeah. College would be a different.
He's in better shape than he's ever been.
Yeah,
Paul, same question. Could you go out and play right now?
You talking like on the video game or like live?
Yeah.
I like watching it, or I watch it on the radio a lot. That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
But
I had the same question with Kane Zool at the Wapsie game this fall. I'm standing on the bleachers next to him trying to do stats and stuff. And before the game started, I was like, could you go out there and do this again? He goes, I think about it every day. He goes, how about you, Dan? And I'm like, my back hurts standing on the bleachers right now. So that thought has not crossed my mind in many a year. I'm 20 years out somehow, some way. So doing yard work today, doing a landscape project. I'm like, oh my gosh, my back is just throbbing from bending over so much. So my days are long behind me. So we've talked a lot of defense. Real quick here, for the sake of time, I want to fly through offensively, Mathew. Your freshman and sophomore year, you primarily played defense. Your junior year, you stepped in as one of the halfbacks, you and Kane and Cole, and you had, I think, 642 yards rushing as a junior. And obviously in our program, we have so many guys that can run the ball and we spread the wealth. You easily could have been 1,000-yard rusher, but Cole was kind of the focal part of the offense. You were more of a north-south runner, and as a halfback, you're going more east-west. But your senior year, you stepped into that fullback role, which people know the program. That's that coveted role that you put your stud in. 1,923 yards rushing as a senior. That is third best in school history for season rushing yards. And how many of those games did you not run the ball in the fourth quarter? Probably 3/4 of the games you were on the sideline. So easily could have probably been 2,500 yards. You're one of 7 players to ever rush for more than 1,500 yards in a season. You're 10th in career rushing with 2,565. Again, you could go back and say how many of those, how many more carries could you have had if it was closer games? But you could say that with guys for the last 40 years as well. You're 2nd in playoff rushing yards in a season. You're 6th in career playoff rushing yards. This stat was really cool to me. You have 966 rushing yards in the playoffs, and you only ran the ball in 7 playoff games. And again, in some of those playoff games, you're up 31-0 at the end of the third quarter. You're yanked out of the game. Most people would be thrilled to have almost 1,000 yards in their whole career, let alone 7 playoff games. So I just thought that was pretty neat. You're 8th in career rushing touchdowns with 36, 2nd in playoff rushing touchdowns, 4th in career. And again, you had 15 playoff rushing touchdowns in just 7 games where you ran the ball. So, just over 2 touchdowns a game. I had a whole piece of paper listed out with things you were in the top 10 or top 15 in. I was like, we just don't have time to go through them all, but obviously it's a lot of accolades. What else do you want to say about your senior season or your career playing football? And then we're going to talk about coaches 22 years now of coaching at West Hancock.
Yeah. I guess in my opinion, my senior year was, I would say, probably my funnest year. Obviously, I mean, I'm playing with all the guys that I grew up with, and it's not as fun if I don't have those guys with me, and we obviously don't make it that far without those guys too. Um, and I mean, you always got to give credit to other people. You definitely can't have that many yards or that many accomplishments without those guys busting their butt on the line and making holes, and the other running backs doing their job. So then it opens stuff up for me. So I got to give credit to them. There's no doubt about that. But it was fun. I mean, it goes fast, especially when you're having fun. But I mean, there's no better way to end it, I guess, than with a state title. So I'm thankful for that, and all the people I played with. Yeah.
I was going to go through a handful of games from that senior year, but I'm just going to highlight one. We already talked about the state title game. People always talk about the HMS games with the whole coach being mad about where the game was supposed to be and all that stuff. My favorite from that season was North Butler. And some people have probably forgotten about North Butler, but that they were 8-0. Or no, that was when he had 8 games. So 7-0, we were 7-0. They had to come to Britt, and I came up for that game. Had dinner with Chad Eisman. They brought a big crowd. You know, North Butler football had not been much over the years. They had that Chet Bus kid. They were pretty hyped up, you know, because when your football team's good, it just the whole community is buzzing. It's positive atmosphere. The school, everyone's in a good mood. They came to Britt, and I think it was 8-0, and then maybe 16-0 at halftime, and then we just methodically took the wind out of them and won that game 36-0. I said that was like an eye-opening game for North Butler. Like, hey, we're 7-0, we're pretty good. And then reality kicked in a little bit. That Chet Bus kid was a stud. I watched him online. He was tearing people apart for the most part. But as a team, they had 74 yards of total offense. Ryland Barnes had 16 tackles in that game. It was just so fun to watch. Like, you know, both these teams are undefeated, but the scoreboard is not indicating that they're equals. And that was when I really was like, you know, I knew a couple weeks prior against HMS, like we're a state title contender. That game, I was like, these kids, they're going to do it. They have a really good shot at doing it. So that was the game to me that really stood out over all the playoff games and the HMS games. I thought that was just a statement win for us. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, definitely. That was pretty awesome. That was getting to the point where he thought he was getting held every play, the big guy over there, but I don't think that was the case. I think we were running our feet, and he didn't have enough help with him to get her going. But our guys were running the feet the whole game. It was awesome.
Yeah. So, Coach, 22 years now you're entering. Football starts in like 2 months, not even 2 months when practice kicks off. Excited for that. I'm getting up to most of the games like I usually try to do. 2003, you came in. 2002, you came in as a teacher. My sophomore year, and the first year you didn't coach. 2003, that fall, you like you said, Coach Sanger asked you to step in and help. Just a decade prior, you were in his program as a player. What'd that mean to you to now be a part of that coaching staff that's so revered across the state?
Yeah, you never know. See that coming. You know, out of high school, I went to the Air Force too for a while and came back and worked, and then decided to use the GI Bill to go back to school and stuff. So this all worked out. And then when a good friend of mine, Dave Fink, was out then, and so that was a vacancy on JV and defense, and Coach Sanger's like, "You want that?" I said, "You bet." So it worked out well.
What kind of learning curve did you have stepping
Well,
in?
I mean, it helps being our, you know, still most of the same plays are still going, but the new all the staff and everything, and a lot of learning curve. There's a lot of stuff you don't realize you need to know this stuff, but I'm not the, you know, when it comes to, I'm not the X's and O guy. You know, right now we got Coach Sanger, Johnson, Iceman, they're pretty much running, doing the X's and O. They, guys helping them during game time. We all kind of have our roles. Some guys weightlifting, some guys doing JV and stuff. But I'm not the man, but I've been around. We're all worked together real well, and it's been pretty good. I think only 3 losing seasons in the last 22 years too, so pretty fun.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, X's and O's are one thing, but running a position in practice and just motivation for the kids. What was it? Was it eye-opening for you to come in, and how do you relate and deal with kids and personalities and behaviors? Was that kind of an interesting part of the job for you when you started out?
Oh yeah, and maybe it helped the first year I didn't coach. Just get to know kids and learn how to adjust to kids. When I was 27 years old, I started teaching, so that helped a little bit too. But yeah, every kid's got their different thing. But most of the kids that are out want to be out for football or wrestling, whatever, and they're not bad. We get excited once in a while. But sometimes you got to get it that way. But we try to build relationship with them. You and hundreds of other ones still come up to us all the time, talk football and wrestling, whatever else it is. But so I think we all build good relationships for the most part. We get excited once in a while, but part of the fun.
So since 2023, the varsity teams that you've helped coach have gone 175 and 60 overall, 3 state titles, 2 runner-ups, 3 semifinal trophies, 5 quarterfinals, 1 second round, and only just 3 first-round exits. So,
yeah,
it's a lot of playoff wins if you add those up. 10 district titles, 7 runner-ups, 7 10-plus win seasons, and of course those seasons that ended in the dome and the championship game all had 12 to 13 wins. Pretty impressive resume. I don't think I put it in the notes, but if you said there's 3 losing seasons, 2008, 2009, 2013, you take out just 5 wins from those 3 seasons. That's 170 wins. I'm going to write this down so I don't forget because I'm not getting any younger. And then you take out the 7 losses, 6 losses, and 9. What's that? 22 losses. So if you take out those 3 losing seasons, that's 170 wins and only 48 losses in 22 seasons. It's barely 2 losses per season, which, we always talk. Like I remember at the country club a couple years ago when I was getting rid of my record books, you and I sat there and had a few drinks and talked for a couple hours. And pretty much, just like I say on this podcast all the time, we talked about the losses. We talked about the woulda, coulda, shoulda seasons.
Yeah.
Oh, if we only had not played North Fayette my senior year, we probably would have been in the finals. And, my junior year, like 99% of the state would be tickled to have half of the success that we've had. Yet we always find this year could have been better. That season, like we're pretty spoiled.
Yeah, that's what it always ends up that way.
Yeah. 17
Probably always talking
you could have
12 or 15 titles. Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
No, 17 of the 21 seasons you've been a coach, we've been either first or second in the district. You can talk to any Joe Schmo from any other school, and they're like, "Yeah, we got third in our district one year, and we were, thrilled or whatever." It's just we're in elite company. So,
well, even in school, I put on my chalkboard kind of during the dome and like write down all of our conference teams have been to the dome. There's only like 7 or 8 of the teams have been there at all, and then that means about 10 of them haven't ever been to the dome. I don't remember the number, but I write that down. People don't realize that it's been quite a bit. They always think about the runner-ups and stuff like that too, that we didn't get it. But I'll tell you what, I'll talk JV because I coach JV too. I don't think we've ever had a losing season on JV, just which helps because we can keep our guys down, and actually play with fresh off. And that's sometimes playing against people that have juniors on the team and stuff. But I don't think we ever had a losing season, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Just credit to the kids working hard.
And you typically play like 7 JV games a year?
7 to 8, yeah.
So if you average 5 to 6 wins a year, you're looking at 100, 125 additional JV wins probably as well.
Yeah.
Could probably be more. Right now, I think the problem is half the schools don't want to play JV games. Is that what you guys are running into right now?
Well, Garrigan runs into the same problems. Last year we had a half 11-man game and half 8-man. Like when they were on offense, they were 8-man, and we were on offense, we were 11-man. So They had the same issue. We're like, we always won a game, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, because we played JV like Dyke New Hartford a couple years ago. I'm like,
Yeah.
heck, are we playing Dyke
Mhm.
New Hartford? And like Mark told me, he goes, can't find other teams to play us. So
No, we gotta address that in our conference a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember when I played JV football, it was Fink and Boozman were our coaches, and obviously varsity is the big event. But man, we had a blast playing JV football. Um,
Yeah.
the pressure's you want to do well, obviously, but the pressure's not as much as it is at the varsity level. You're playing with your buddies in your grade more than likely. It's just a fun atmosphere. Even it's still a big deal, but it was just a different type of
Yep.
Monday night compared to Friday night. What do you enjoy about JV football?
Well, I think you just explained half of it right there, but it's a good developmental thing and stuff. But it's fun. It's kids don't have the pressure on them. Obviously, you basically explained it all. Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly.
Yeah. And Garner typically got us in JV football. Like
They
we
used to.
tend to not have much success against them back in my day, and then we never lost to them in varsity.
Yeah.
So like the fundamentals were there. Yeah, they might have been bigger and faster and a little bit stronger as freshmen, but then by the time we got to be juniors and seniors, it was a completely different result. So
Yeah.
yeah. Matthew, did you play a lot of JV uh, as an underclassman, or with your role on defense, were you strictly varsity? Did you mix a little bit?
Um, I think I played like maybe 5 games as on
On the opposite.
on JV. Because yeah, I could only if you play some varsity, you can only play a certain amount of JV games. So I played my freshman year. I played as much as I could until I couldn't play anymore, and then yeah,
Just one way that wasn't it because you're playing some varsity defense. I think you just played on offense
yeah, I think
mostly.
so.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Just they don't get flat there.
there were a bunch of rules. I don't really. I think it was like 5.
Yeah.
Total. Yeah.
And going back to you, Matthew, here a little bit, Paul and I were talking. You also have a state track medal, and you also played varsity baseball a couple years. So you were a four-sport athlete. Uh, what do you remember about, besides wrestling and football, what do you remember about track and baseball? Just being able to be a four-sport athlete at a small school.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I'd say wrestling and football were my top two. But I played a lot of catcher when I was in baseball, and I did really enjoy that. Wasn't much of a pitcher. And my batting was pretty average as well. But I did it. I enjoyed, even though it kind of sucked. I enjoyed catching. Um, Another thing where we weren't. I don't know. Baseball last decade has not been too great. But it was always fun just to be out there with the guys we know. But even though it wasn't, there were some tough times where we were had a pretty decent losing streak. But it was still a good time. And track it was always fun. I started out my freshman year. Um, I mean, the medal I had was in shuttle. Started out my freshman year, and I sucked at it. I was horrible, and we had a horrible relay. The only person that was semi decent was Joe, but Coach Wells started to utilize him elsewhere because our team was very good. So Coach Wells put together a team, but we weren't very good. And then we had Coach Cook come, and he was big, really big into hurdles, and still is. And he focused a lot on us guys he thought would be good, and we put together a pretty solid team my sophomore year, and then my junior and senior year we made it to state both years, and placed my junior year, and then we got DQ'd my year, but had some pretty good times.
Coach Cook, that name isn't ringing a bell to me. Who's that?
Well, Bill Cook, he came from.
Yep.
I think he's on his 48th year of coaching. He was at Waverly, Shell Rock for football and track, and I'm not sure on the other ones, but coaching almost as long as Coach Sanger, Bob. So
Yeah, he just came to Britt my sophomore year, I believe. No, it was my junior year because sophomore year was COVID year.
Okay.
But yeah, so he came my year. Um, and yeah, he came from Waverly. I know he coached at Waverly and
Yeah, that's
another school. I forgot it right now, but yeah.
very experienced.
how did he end up in Britain? Do you know the story there? This is like the first time I've ever heard
He's
this.
dating a woman. He's dating a lady from Britt.
Oh, okay.
Moved here.
Yeah, I was like, man, that
Coach Boozman highly recommended him right when he got here. So
okay. Yeah, you said Coach Cook, and I'm like, I typically know most
Yeah.
people. And that name, I was stumped there for a second. So, and then Coach Francis, Dr. Spirit, talk about your experiences in that role.
got it. They wear my
Maybe
hat and my
explain to
glasses.
people who don't know the Dr. Spirit thing. Give a little background on that.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I was in high school, Coach Perkins was Dr. Spirit. Mr. Perkins also worked teacher. He started it all. He was the full setup with the doctor, the white coat, and all that stuff, and just had the jug, the cheer and all stuff. So it was always fun. And then I think there's a little gap in there. The doctor Don Hiscox got it going, and he always made some funny skits and stuff, and I always liked that too. And then there's quite a little gap in there. That Mrs. Sanger, I believe, come up with the idea of doing it again, and so I don't know. I just kind of took it over and do some of the pep rallies, try to do some funny things at pep rallies, and even a couple graduation speeches. Try to make fun of these guys a little bit and stuff, and try to keep it cleaner than Dr. Don. He he had some funny ones, but I can't repeat them all.
How many years have you been doing that?
Huh?
How many years have you been doing that?
Me? I don't know. My your whole time, probably 6, 7, 8 years, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Something like that. Part time anyway.
Yeah.
Gave it to Ryland Barnes one time last year, but that was just a one time only event. But it's pretty fun.
How many more years you got left in you, Dr. Spirit?
Oh, that you never know about that stuff. I lost David Smith though. He was my backup guitar last year when we did it, so we'll have to find a new guy for that when we do a song or something. But we'll see. You never know about that stuff.
Yeah. 2024 football. I know it's not in the notes, but what's the outlook looking? The summer workouts, guys putting the time in right now. Excited about the year coming up?
Yes, going real good. I think we got most of the guys in the weight room and running hard, and yeah, I think we got a good. We obviously had a very good senior class to graduate, but a good chunk of the starters are back. A lot of the linemen and some of the running backs didn't get full time in there because they are behind the other studs. So, yeah, knock on wood. I think we'll be okay. No predictions, but
stay healthy.
Yeah.
Matthew, you're back in town. I saw you at district wrestling helping out. Are you getting into the coaching world a little bit?
Yeah, when I got back, I kind of started before I got back. Just give my coaching certificate and stuff, and I knew Coach Sanger mentioned to me that he would like some help and just have me in there wrestling with the guys, give them a different feel. Try to push them a little bit, obviously, so they can get some more competition, get some reps with different people. And so I went in. I mean, wasn't doing it very long. I guess I got there about a week before districts, and then went to districts with them, and then went to state with them, just helping out. Kind of doing what the coaches need me to do, and just wrestling with the guys. I don't know what the next year will look like, but I'm sure down the road, get into it for sure. But I don't know this next year or not.
And Coach Francis, you're football and wrestling this next year as well, continuing the same thing.
Yep. Junior high now. Nick Biergar is the head coach, so if they have at least 15 kids, usually they get an assistant. So I've been assistant to Nick the last 2 years. After he graduated, I went back into it. But yep, still football and junior high wrestling. You bet.
Nice. Yeah, I went up to districts at Ogden, like I said, and between Mark and you and looked like about 8 other coaches on that wall there, and I think they were all West Hancock or Britt grads. It's just really
Yeah.
cool to see. It's just, just like with football, all but one guy on staff are Britt or West Hancock graduates, and it's like no wonder there's the success, because it's not just coach for the couple extra bucks here and there, and a lot of those
Yeah.
guys are doing it for free. It's just the pride they have in the program, pride they have in the school and the communities is pretty cool, and that's going to kind of flow into the end here. This podcast.
Oh, you talked about that. Can I say something real?
Yeah, yep.
Like even Dave Brown came back from state. And he's been around forever. But I talk about like Billy Dahlman. He's been doing this for 50 years. Doug Don's probably, I don't know exactly. There's some time in between, probably 30, 40, 50 years almost. So like you said, these guys been around. They just love the sport. And Coach Perkins obviously was around for Hall of Fame. First of all, yeah, when he came in '84, it was kind of like you talked about defense. That was really where we started playing more defense, and been quite around. So it's nice to have people around. Like you said, you hate to get people forced into a coaching position because they usually don't work out quite as well.
Yeah.
But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, been there, done that. My first school, we couldn't find people to coach, and they were going to say, "Well, you're now our new girls basketball coach," to a guy, and he's like, "I'm not doing that." They're like, we can't find anyone else. You're doing it. What kind of success do you think you're going to have?
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's so fun to see the traditions continue, and pretty excited. Like I said, 110 episodes of this podcast. I'm going to do at least 50 more. I got Jarod Haxton coming up next, another guy kind of from your era. And then Tony
quarterback,
Julie Rietema, the 2016 Girls State Championship track team. That's one of Mark Sanger's title teams. Dave and Cliff Howlett. And then I have a bunch of Eckels. The cousins and siblings are all going to come on together and do one. A lot of good athletes there. So one of them just got engaged to Shay Smith, who was my last podcast guest. It was just cool to see. And Matthew's getting engaged to Madison Eisman, and we know the Eisman family. It's just, I love it.
Yeah.
A lot of fun to see all that. So I always leave the last part open for anything we forgot to say, anyone you forgot to shout out, any stories that just popped into your head. Go ahead, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
What?
Not much. Just that I didn't know I'd be back coaching wrestling as soon as I was, but when we got done, I told him that I needed a break for a long while, and then I wouldn't miss wrestling. But then I had a couple-year break, and I did kind of miss wrestling a little bit. So
again, you're one of those crazy people, like those wrestlers. You went through all the years of it and put your body through it. And you just can't get enough. So yeah.
I've learned that the coaching life is a little bit easier than the athlete life.
Yeah.
You can do the old reps when you get tired. You can come out. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, you're not getting pulled out of the starting lineup if you need a breather at this point.
Yeah.
How about you, Coach Francis?
Oh, I don't know. I think I've gone through most of it, but we'll ever thank my wife. I think she's over there. So she's put up a lot of crap. It's been 30 years we've been married, so it's that's a lot of time away and stuff. But it's been I'd recommend it. I think it's nice I spend a lot of time with my kids at school, with coaching and teaching and stuff like that. So it's been a good way to bring them up for a long time. I had a daycare here, so she had them when they're young, and I had them when they're older. So it's a good way to stay close to the kids and everything. And been a good run so far. We keep on rolling.
Speaking of your wife, I sent her and a bunch of other coaches' wives a message the other day. I'm lining up a podcast for this fall, and it's going to be all from a coach's wife's perspective, because I've said this on other podcasts. Everybody knows coaches are nothing without their spouses, supportive spouses. A spouse can make or break how good of a coach you are. I mean, if they're fully on board, life's good. If they're not, you're probably not in this profession for very long. And so I Carrie and Taylor Sanger and all the coaches' wives, I'm gonna try to get them on a podcast and talk about talk to most all you coaches at this point. Now I want to know like the other side of it, just from a fresh perspective, and give those ladies their kudos, because it's you guys as coaches that get a lot of the credit and the accolades. But man, the things they do and the things they put up with, they deserve their day in the sun as well. So that's going to be coming up in November. I'm going to kind of do it after the season gets over. So it'll be a fun one. So yeah, cool. Matthew, I so enjoyed watching you play football. That 2021 team, I don't know how anyone's going to top it. I know the 2023 team may be a little more explosive, and the way that title game ended this year was just nuts. But you guys, for 13 games, pretty much played flawless football. So you and that group are always going to be etched in my memory as that team that's going to be a hard team to move someone ahead of you guys. That it's no offense to any of the other teams. It was just the cleanest, well played season I think I've ever seen in any level of football. And I'm biased because I'm a Britt guy, but so thank you for that. And then Coach Francis, you came in my junior year. Again, I was the guy that you're like, yeah, we're gonna fly through our shop budget here if I keep letting Dan try to build things. So you found a way to get me my A by cleaning up the shop, and you and I just remember sitting around talking and having a good time in school, and always wanted to talk football and
Yeah.
have a good time. I came back a few months ago when I was on spring break. We sat and talked for a while. I just, 20 years later, it's just neat to see, like you talked about earlier, those relationships are still there with, teachers and coaches and former students and athletes. And so just want to thank you for 20 some years at West Hancock and what you did for me. And I've heard from a lot of people, they're like, you're one of those guys that you do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. You're never looking for the spotlight, and people are always appreciative of you and lots of others like that. So
Yeah, good to hear.
yeah, so thank you guys very much for coming on, and go Eagles.
Go Eagles. Thanks, Dan.